I cannot stand Mr. Baseball.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I knew it.
Here we go.
Yeah, I tried to throw a little bit back at it.
Love that logo, love that jersey, love that color scheme, everything about it.
Welcome back for the second half. Region and national broadcasters.
I think it's supposed to be regional. That's my fault. I put it in there.
Come on. Quick.
So I threw this one out.
You got to stop drinking. You got to stop drinking. You got to stop drinking your seltzer water or your soda, whatever. If you can't spell, if you can't spell, I mean, trust me, I can't get past the letter 3.
This is something that I threw a bunch of topics out to you this morning, as I said I was going to last night. But then this one hit me. And I think so here's my thought. I think maybe we might be unjustly hard on national broadcasters. And my reason being, me and you in particular, I'm a big baseball guy, you're a big hockey guy. The NHL and MLB are there's great regional coverage for those sports. Just like the NBA. Well, those 3 sports benefit from regional coverage, and as a fan of those sports and those teams, you appreciate your local team's commentary team, your play-by-play guys. The NFL doesn't quite have that. I mean, if you listen to the radio games, you're going to hear the regional coverage. But for the most part, you're watching it on national television. It's only national broadcasters. So this is kind of something that the NFL doesn't fall in line with. And then playoffs come. And then you're listening to the national coverage of your favorite team if they make the playoffs. And are we harder on national broadcasters because we're so used to the people calling the games for our teams? Or are we as fans right in our criticism of national broadcasters is really what it comes down to.
That's a very good question because, well, you are right 100%. Like when we watch a game, we want to watch it with the home team announcers if it's our team. Or even if they're away, we want to watch it with our favorite team's broadcasters.
Right.
Because that's, it's just what it is. Because it's your favorite team. You want to hear the excitement of what the game is. Now, like you said on the radio, yeah, you're going to listen to one or the other. You can, you barely ever listen to a national radio broadcast of it.
I mean, they exist, but I don't think many people do.
No, but it's always one or the other. It's always, that alone. But when it comes to even watching it on TV, you're not going to watch. I mean, I know when the NHL had center ice, and the only way I could watch Flyer games was from the opposing team's broadcast.
And it's the shits, isn't it?
So for me, listening to that when you hear, "Oh, the Flyers scored," and you're sitting there cheering, but it's like it almost takes the wind out of you. Because
right.
Because you want to hear that hype, you want to hear that. I mean, are we hard on them as a fan? Every fan is. Doesn't matter if you're, as they always say, Philadelphia fans are always the hardest on. Well, they boo Santa Claus. Was always the thing.
Well, I'm not even looking at this as like a Philly fan.
Well, no, I'm just using them as an example because of we're Philadelphia fans in general. But if you could be a Washington Capitals fan to a Nationals fan, or you could like the Dallas Stars to the Dallas Cowboys, or the Los Angeles Lakers to the Los Angeles Kings. You want to hear that. You want to hear that home broadcast. But if you don't, you are going to be harder on. Because it's not your broadcast that you want to listen to, but you want to listen to the game or watch the game.
I mean, here's my
you do it. Then you got to do it.
And the prime example is Joe Buck. Joe Buck is easily the most polarizing. He's easily the most polarizing play-by-play guy in sports history. You either hate him or you hate him is really what it comes down to. Well,
There's
the reason
really
I
no
say this,
between.
and he's kind of the inspiration for this discussion. I don't think I've ever seen someone say, I like Joe Buck. I think he's fair to my team. Almost every person who is a fan of a team, of a game that Joe Buck has called, has probably claimed at one point or another that he is biased against my team. Is it that he's biased against your team, or is it that he's not as familiar with your team as the Braves play-by-play team, or the Angels play-by-play team, or the Dodgers play-by-play team? Like, is it that he hates them, or he's biased to the other team, or is it he's just not familiar with them? Because his job is to call a handful of games, or his job was to call a handful of baseball games a year. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're criticizing these guys.
I mean,
for
you do
unfamiliarity.
But then again, though, you also have these broadcasters who are, like, it almost seems like they're fans of a particular team, but they can't show it, but they still show it. Like, say, for example, I'm trying to think of his name. He was the broadcaster in hockey. He always was a big Penn Crosby fan. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, Pierre something.
Lucky Pierre?
Yeah, no. McGuire? It just always seemed like, yes, that's it, Pierre McGuire. It always seems like every time that the Penguins played, he was always like, despite it could have just been, let's say Crosby could have thrown a pass and it missed him because it hit something in the ice and just popped over.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a fantastic pass. He collected that pass perfectly because he passed it. That's how it always was with him. It's to me, anyways. Everybody has their opinions on how that is.
But that's literally what this topic is about.
You know, yeah, you do have some broadcasters that just seem that way, that they're more biased because of XYZ. You know, it could be, like you said, they're not familiar, or they could just be, this is their favorite team because they're trying to promote. They're trying to do something. They could get, hey, for all we know, Joe Buck could get a kickback for a team. I don't know.
Well,
by
he's
just
the
hyping
prime
him up.
example because he's so disliked by so many different fans of different teams. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, Joe Buck, he only cares about the Yankees. He loves the Yankees. He's biased against the Yankees. And then I know Yankees fans who are like, fuck Joe Buck. He don't care about the Yankees. He's a Red Sox guy. Like, he's none of those things. One, he's probably a Cardinals guy if he's anything, because his dad called the Cardinals growing up. So if he's anyone's team, it's the Cardinals. But two, his job on a national level isn't to talk about how great one team is. He has to convey to a national audience who may not just be Yankees fans, who may not just be Phillies fans or Red Sox fans or whomever. His job is to get those teams over to a casual audience. So yeah, he may not be talking about Shane Victorino in 2009. He might have been talking about someone else because they're more important at that moment in time. Like, I think to some degree we might, as fans, we might be too hard on these guys because they have a different narrative that they have to tell than our regional guys.
And plus, also, they have a different view on things because they view looking at it from like a national level, they view the game itself, not team by team. They view the game itself. And from our point of view as a fans, we're watching our team.
Exactly.
And if they're not doing if they're not like, oh, they're doing great, we're gonna get pissed because that's our fan.
Right.
That's our fan base. So I mean, I do think we are a lot of times unjustly hard on the broadcasters. It's just like being hard on a ref. I mean, everybody hates the ref when they misdo a call.
But that's a different situation.
Yeah, but that
I'm
could
not
just,
gonna. I'm
you
not
know.
gonna. I'm not gonna put those two in the same group because
No, but
the
it's a
play-by-play
different.
guy can't change the game.
No, but it's a look of from their point of view.
I don't want to look from Angel Hernandez's point of view. So
What, up somebody's ass or what?
now I will say I was really impressed with Joe Davis and John Smoltz during the MLB playoffs on Fox. Smoltzy has to learn less is more when he's talking, but I liked his insight from being a pitcher. I thought that was really good. And Joe Davis is coming from being the Dodgers play-by-play guy during the regular season and doing national games. And I thought he did a really good job putting over players for both teams. I mean, he pretty much talked about everyone on the Phils at some point during those games. So I thought they did a really good job.
What, because they
And-
talked about the Phils?
No, because they made a point to make each team's fan base know their teams were important and who their players were and why those players got them to where they were. And that's a big thing.
Well, look at Tony Romo. As a broadcaster, it's just,
One of the best.
yeah, I feel that way too, just because the way he explains the game, but also he doesn't just pick out players because this is this player who is a big shot or this player is a big shot. He picks out the players who actually make the plays. Like say this player made this play. Wow, that was a fantastic play. That route he ran, that play worked great for what he did. It wasn't just about because he's a named player. It was because he ran the route. For somehow he's like a Nostradamus here who predicts the plays and he's right.
One thing I liked about Davis, and it showed that I think he's aware of the negative connotation that national broadcasters have for sports, is Stott was going through a bit of a slump in the postseason. And Davis mentioned it, but then he also mentioned that there were plenty of times in the regular season where Stott was a game changer for the Phils late in games. Like whoever's giving him that information, because we know it's not just him. We know that they have people who are gathering all that information. He made a point to acknowledge, yeah, this guy's struggling now, but he's an important reason they're where they are at this moment. Like, it's those little things that can take that hate away from us fans of these teams.
Basically explaining, like, okay, yeah, he may not be a start game impact, but he's a late game impact.
Right.
And explaining it to people like, okay, listen, he's going through a slump now, but yeah, I can see like when they add those into the mix of, hey, and that's with any sport, whether it be football,
Right.
baseball, basketball, hockey, any of those sports. It just, when they give those types of reasons why they're saying like, hey, he's struggling now, yes, but he's one of the reasons why they're in this position.
And I think more national broadcasters just taking the time to convey those little things will go a long way for fans of all the teams.
But the broadcaster has to do that though too.
Well, yeah, the broadcaster
to win
has
over,
to do it,
to win over the fans. Because normally when you're listening to or watching a game on TV, if you're going to be screaming at the broadcasters because they're not saying, hey, they're doing great, they're doing fantastic,
Well, I mean, thankfully for most of us, we don't have to deal with Joe Buck too much anymore because he's over on ESPN doing Monday Night Football. Which, again, I go back, he did an amazing job when everything happened with Hamlin a few months ago, covering his heart issue and everything that happened on the field. I mean,
okay, yes.
He was on that, and he did a fantastic job treating it as a news story, not a sports story, and he was great. I won't knock him for that. Because blind squirrels find nuts. But I think even though he's more of a blip on the radar to me, like in comparison to Joe Davis. Vin Scully was the voice of the Dodgers until he retired. But Vin Scully for decades did the game of the week for NBC. So he was doing Dodgers games, and on Saturdays he was doing everyone's game. Meaning, like, over the course of the season, he probably did at least one game for everyone. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And you're coming at that situation with the ability to know the teams on a closer level by being the Dodgers play-by-play guy and seeing more teams than just calling them once a week. I mean, we're Philly guys. Harry Kalas did NFL games on top of doing Phillies games. I mean,
well, he had a voice that just his voice though was meant not just for baseball, not just for baseball, but for football, like documentaries and things like that. Just those, even just documentaries alone, his voice was meant for. He had that voice that kept you there.
And a lot of guys don't have that now.
No, you don't see that. You don't have,
because I mean, off the top of my head,
you don't have those guys that can do that.
I mean, the Yankees had Phil Rizzuto. He had a unique voice. Euchre had a unique voice, has a unique voice. Vin Scully had a unique voice. Harry Kalas had a unique voice. And it made it, they stood out amongst the crowd. And it felt like home when you were listening to them call your team's game, because that's what it was.
Well, not just even your team's games, just in general. When you have those broadcasters who can, not only for not just your team, but just in a general aspect.
Which, I mean, Tom McCarthy's been with the Phils for 20 years. He's been the main play-by-play guy since Harry died, and he's still the new guy to me. So I don't.
I'm drawing a blank here. What's his name?
And this was something that was brought up to me.
He did the hockey ones. He always had the old school jerseys in the background when they did the video chats with them.
Doc?
Yep, Mike Emmerich. Yep, Doc Emmerich, yep.
Now, see, he's a national guy who was fantastic. There are, I will say this, there are national play-by-play guys who are absolutely fantastic at what they do. And they call it right down the middle, and they treat it as a sport and not
Al Michaels.
As something else. Who?
Al Michaels.
Al Michaels is another one. Chris Collingsworth is not.
That's why I said Al Michaels.
It's like having John Madden brought up to.
It's like having John Madden do a hockey game.
I miss Madden. I think a lot of people do, because here's the thing, and this was brought up to me by my buddy Mike from the Randy's Pod.
I mean,
guys
Madden
are too
was
polished
football.
now. Guys are way too polished now. They're too smooth. You almost need someone like a Madden now to shake things up. You need someone who's a little rough around the edges and isn't the greatest orator, who can come in and lighten it up and still be able to talk to the everyman. Which is what Kruk does for the Phils. but you know who else did it and made a great career out of it? Was Chris Berman.
Fumble Rooskies.
I mean, he was doing it in the studio for SportsCenter and for Baseball Tonight and NFL Tonight, and there's a reason why he resonated with so many people. So I mean, yeah, there are very good and great national broadcasters. It's just it's almost a lost art of being great at being a national broadcaster.
It is, because everybody seems that they have to be what seems like to be politically correct on everything. Instead of, like you said,
where I was going with it, but
well, right. I mean, people have to be politically correct with everything anymore.
This is going down a road I wasn't expecting it to. I just meant like it goes back to I think these guys are trying to give both teams a fair amount of time, and a lot of us take it as the opposite. And that's not. They're just trying to do a job.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's just our familiarity with our play-by-play guys,
And then hammering on them because they're not familiar with what we know.
Right. It's like sleeping in a hotel bed. It's not the same as sleeping in your own bed. You don't sleep the same.
I was gonna say, where are we going with this? on that one.
Yeah, maybe we end this one. Food for thought. Maybe we're a little hard on national broadcasters. There you go. The more you know.
Oh, jeez.
I think when we were kids, it was one to grow on. But
I forget which one it was.
all of them had something that aired during Saturday morning cartoons to get you to like be a good citizen.
Right? That's
now
funny.
you know, Billy, if you and Susie light a fire in the house, that your house will burn down, and it's awful for you to close the door behind you as Susie's trying to get out. Gee golly willikers, I won't do that again. Well,
the
no,
more you know.
dead.
The more you know. Oh, that's funny. You good?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's the end of the second half.
We're 9 minutes from midnight. I'm here's about as good as it's gonna get.
Pretty much. Oh man.
Well, I got one plug because there's so much stuff happening and changing that I only got one plug. You can catch me every other week on the Rock and Randy's Pro Wrestling Outlaws podcast. We've been on fire lately with our shows. We've been getting new members to the Facebook group based on people discovering the show. It's been pretty awesome on that end. And there are big things afoot with the show. We got a big interview coming up on the 24th. So there's a lot going on with the Rock and Randy's pod. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Pretty much everywhere this show's on is where the Randy's pod is on. And if you listen to us, join our Facebook group, join in with the shenanigans, because that's literally what it is shenanigans. I can't even go into like just how ridiculous things are. But whatever we're doing, we're working because people are loving it. So that's the Rock and Randy's podcast that I'm on every other week. My buddy Mike, I mentioned, is on there. We got a lot of good stuff going on. That's it. That's all I got for plugs. Plugs are slimming down because there's all kinds of changes happening.
Sometimes that's good.
Yeah, but
Sometimes
normally
changes
this
are
is
good.
kind of like bullshit corner. So
Is that what we're going to call everything? Bullshit corner?
well, that's going to be a future segment on the Randy's podcast. That's another quick plug in there. See how I'm working that?
Bullshit corner. Oh, that's funny.
Let's see. We are now 7 minutes to midnight. I mean, we could try and draw this out till midnight. I don't know if I can do that.
What, you afraid you're going to turn into a pumpkin or something?
I might, actually. I might just collapse and fall asleep in the chair. Is really what it'll come down to.
Well, for those of you watching, if you go on YouTube, you'll see Jason turn into a pumpkin or
Bippity
asleep in his chair.
boppity fuck.
Is that the new, saying for that now?
Sure, that's the new that's a shirt idea for somewhere. I don't know if it's for us or for someone else, but it's a shirt idea.
Oh, jeez. Oh, this is going downhill fast.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
And
joining
picking
us
up
for
speed.
episode 64 of the None Other Sports Podcast. You can find us online at our Linktree account. It is in every episode's show description. Just click on it. It'll take you to all of our social media pages, our store, YouTube, whatever. You can also find us online for streaming or download at Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Audible, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Audio, Pandora, Amazon,
Wherever.
Google. If you
We're
can't
everywhere.
find us, I don't know what to tell you, is really what it comes down to. With that, I'm Jason.
I'm David.
We'll talk with you next time.
Have a good one.